Welcome back to Old School Sports and our OOTP 22 playthrough of the New York Yankees. We are at the start of the 2027 season, and our rebuilt Yankees are the defending World Series champions. So we have high hopes for this coming season. No specific goals from ownership for this year, interesting. They want us to win another championship by next year and also upgrade at catcher. But kind of interesting that there's no specific financial goals or any other type of goals this season, which gives us a little flexibility. We had previously had to cut our payroll below 200 million, which is where it was when we won last season. You can see where we are up to 217 million as we begin the 2027 season, which puts us seventh in baseball. But we've got a ton of money available for free agents and extensions. So as we think about how this season goes, if we find some spots on our roster that we want to improve, we'll definitely have the money to take on some big contracts and trade as we get closer to the trade deadline. Still investing a lot into scouting. You can see the maximum 24,000 and our player development budget of 24 million. Sorry, and our player development budget of 34 million. Very high. Want to keep investing in our farm system, which ranks as the 8th best in baseball as we begin this 2027 season. So we are going to kick things off, and we'll be reporting back in as anything interesting happens with the team. Well, we're a month into the season and everything's going great for the Yankees so far. 20-7 record, up by 4 games already over the Blue Jays in the American League East. Have had a few injury issues. We'll walk through those quickly here. Nothing that's going to be crippling, but Aaron Judge suffered a sprained ankle several weeks ago. Still is going to miss another 3 weeks. Cody Bellinger has been nursing a strained hamstring since really the first week of the season. We had been trying to massage his way through it, I guess, and he just had a setback a couple of days ago. So put him on the IL just to be cautious, especially with us playing so good so far. But obviously, being without Bellinger and Judge in the lineup leaves a big hole in the middle of our order. And then Carter Benbrook, the pitcher who had a really nice rookie season for us last year, sprained acromyoclavicular joint, out for another couple months. And if you're close looking, you can see that Eduardo Rodriguez also just got hurt, and we are awaiting a diagnosis on Eduardo. Hopefully nothing serious there. Would stink to lose another starter, but that is where we stand. The first month of the season has gone very well so far. And in a piece of good news for months, Eduardo Rodriguez's injury pretty minor, day-to-day for a couple of days, so should not even need to miss a start. So good news on that front as we continue moving forward with this 2027 season. Well, a week later, and the injury situation is getting worse. You can see Miguel Andujar with a high ankle sprain, going to be out for over a month. And then even more importantly, we did just lose a prominent pitcher, Julio Urias, surgery to remove bone chips. Going to be out for 5 months, so pretty much until the playoffs, if we're fortunate enough to make the playoffs. Season's still going well, 24-10, first place in the AL East. But as usual, you're always going to end up with some pitchers banged up as a Major League Baseball season moves along. Hopefully we've got the depth to survive it. Well, the Yankees haven't played as well over the past month, but we are still in first place in the AL East, up by about exactly 4.5 games now on the Orioles, who have taken over second place from Toronto, who's really been playing poorly for the last month. Looking at a few highlights of the season so far, you can see Siku Shu batting .361, second in the AL right now. Jason Dominguez with 44 runs batted in through the end of May is second or third in the league. Shu second in OPS, first in batter WAR. And then our big free agent acquisition from the offseason, Lance McCullers Jr., having a fantastic season for us. Second in the AL with a 2.60 ERA and a 6-0 record so far to start his Yankees career. So with the injuries we've had in the rotation, which have gotten slightly worse, it's been good to have McCullers kind of fronting the rotation, because right now Eduardo Rodriguez is banged up with a herniated disc. He's out with that. He should only be gone a week, so we're just going to keep him on the roster. Assume that Scott Leyes will skip over him, and we'll piece things together through the one start that we're going to miss. Not surprisingly, the injury-prone reliever that we signed as a free agent out of Japan, Seizo Murakami, has also spent some time on the IL, but you can see he is now healthy and should be back in 3 days, so that's positive for us. Well, got some bad news that Aaron Judge, who had come off the IL a while ago, is going to be headed back to the IL with a sprained thumb, going to be out for a couple of weeks. He's been a fragile player, but honestly, he's been extremely durable for us through the length of this playthrough. Played at least 145 games a year each of the first 5 seasons. So after the injury troubles he kind of had after his rookie season, he's been very durable for us until this season. The interesting thing, though, with Judge is that he's now 35 years old, and we hold a team option for $30 million for him next season. Definitely a large buyout, $7.5 million. But if the injuries are starting to take their toll on him, we could have an interesting decision to make next offseason with Aaron Judge, as well as he has played over the past several years for us. Well, we are at the midway point of the 2027 season, the beginning of July. Owner Brad Kreider checked in on us, not surprisingly, happy with our 54-27 record. So are we. He's upset that we haven't improved catcher, but we've got until next year to complete that goal for what it's worth. Still only up 5.5 games on the Orioles, who are playing really good ball. You can see we're 9-1 in our last 10. And we haven't gained any ground on the Orioles because they're just as good in their last 10. But a ton of separation between the rest of the division and us and the Orioles. And the Orioles are up 1 game for the hosting the wild card. So, look like we are in a pretty good position midway through the season to certainly make the playoffs and hopefully win the AL East for a 4th consecutive season. Well, we are nearing the trade deadline, and our starting shortstop just went on the injured list, Xander Bogaerts. We're also in the last year of our contract with Bogaerts, so the benefit of having a lot of salary cap space, or not really salary cap space, but just salary space, is that Yankees were able to go out and trade for Bo Bichette, incredible defensive shortstop, very good offensive shortstop. The Blue Jays are out of it. He is in the last year of his contract, so he will be a free agent just like Bogaerts will. But he will certainly take over as the starting shortstop for the remainder of the season, even when Bogaerts comes back. Feel a little bad for Anthony Volpe, who was going to finally get the chance to play every day. He's in his first year in the major league level with the Yankees now, and was going to kind of get some run at shortstop for the next 6 or 7 weeks while Bogaerts are out, and he won't get that. But we had to make the trade that we thought was in the best interest of this team right now, which is looking to, 1, hold on and ensure we can win the American League East. You see we're only 4 games ahead of Baltimore, although we are 24 ahead of Toronto, which is why they are involved in a salary dump now. So the goal is to not just win the AL East, but hopefully defend our World Series championship, and obviously Bo Bichette will be a huge asset as we try to do that. Had to give up a decent amount for him, quite honestly. We traded away Grayson Saunier, who is a pretty solid pitching prospect for us. Minor league catcher Antonio Gomez, who is excellent defensively, played at AAA for us the last few years. Minor league right-handed pitcher Josh McFadden, who was our third-round pick just a few years ago, and then another minor league pitcher, Ruben Soto, who they've all got some potential. They could become something, but they were willing to retain 85% of Bichette's contract, which means that we still have a lot of salary flexibility if we choose to look for more players over the next 10 days or so until we get to the trade deadline. But I think Bichette will be a huge upgrade for this team, both offensively and defensively at shortstop. So in this situation, the fact that Bogarts landed on the injured list with that fractured rib for the next month and a half may turn out to be a very good thing for our team as we pursue the title. And just a couple days later, we may be looking to tap that trade market again. Sean Manaea just went out with a hamstring strain. You can see having a nice year for us, 9-3 with a 3.47 ERA. Fortunately, Carter Benbrook has been on a rehab assignment, pitched 4 times down in Scranton, so he is about ready to come back. So it'll be easy for us to replace Manaea over the near term as we put him on the injured list. But we still have. We still could obviously use another starter. Hackinson, who was great as a rookie for us last year, you can see his in the rotation now, saved 3 games again, fitting that jack of all trades role for our pitching staff, but 4.63 ERA this year as opposed to the 1.95 ERA he put up as a rookie last season, so has not been nearly as effective. In a perfect world, we'd like to get him back into the bullpen rather than out of the starting rotation. And with Manaea and Urias both gone for 2+ months, that probably means that it's time for us to see if there's anything interesting available on the trade block. Well, we went back to the well in Toronto and just picked up starting pitcher Christian Javier. They had signed him to a 1-year deal, so he is another player who will be a free agent after this season. Toronto is out of it, so they were selling. Ended up having to spend, relatively a lot, I felt, for a player who they had only signed as a free agent, several months ago, and who is going to be a free agent again, but will definitely help us. He had been out of baseball last year and was still recovering from an injury, so we didn't really look all that seriously at him as a candidate in the offseason, but he's been pretty healthy this year and pretty productive for Toronto, as you can see. Started 21 games with a 4.21 ERA, 113 ERA plus, and a 91 FIP minus. So certainly someone who can help our rotation with great stuff and 4 very good pitches. So, we are all in on trying to defend our championship in this 2027 season. So, just looking at what we had to give up before we move on, had to give up four minor leaguers for him. Cooper Dossett, decent prospect. Raul Mercado, also a solid prospect. Bobby Chapa, who was a 3rd-round pick of ours just several years ago. And then minor league first baseman Austin Wells, who actually looks like he just hurt himself since that trade went through. Or no, he must have been hurt when we traded him, but he was just somebody that they were willing to take on to keep a little bit more of the money. So 28-year-old who's in a high A ball doesn't have much value to us, but certainly one of the other younger pitchers, particularly either of the 20-year-olds could turn out to be something for Toronto. So looks like it's a deal that helps both teams. Our hope is that it helps us more this year. And we just made a third trade as we've been very active here approaching the trade deadline. Got Danny Jansen, the catcher from Tampa Bay. He is a 32-year-old in the final year of his contract. Tampa Bay clearly did not have any desire to keep him because all we had to do was trade away one middling minor league prospect, and they were willing to deal him to us. You may remember that one of the goals of our owner was to upgrade our catcher, Diego Cartaya, who is our backup behind Sean Murphy, is clearly not viewed as an upgrade. We still have 2 option years left with Cartaya, so we are going to send Cartaya down to AAA, and then we are going to put Jansen on the team. I'm guessing he will probably step into the starting lineup. We'll see what Leas thinks. He's not quite as good defensively as Sean Murphy, but still a solid defensive catcher with a better bat. And yeah, it looks like against righties and against lefties, Jansen is going to be in the starting lineup. So hopefully that helps us a little bit down the stretch in terms of our offense, and might win a few brownie points with ownership also bringing Jansen on board. So with the additions of Jansen and Bo Bichette into the lineup, and then thinking about our pitching staff, the additions of Christian Javier, I think we've traded away about 9 minor leaguers over the last week and a half to get those 3 players, but hopefully no one that's going to look back like the Yankees of the 80s look back on the trades away of the likes of Jose Rijo and Doug Drabeck and Bob Tewksbury and Fred McGriff. Hopefully nothing like that happened in these trades that we've done over the last couple of weeks. Well, we are into August, past the trade deadline. You can see the Yankees 68-37, second best record in the American League, behind only the Twins. 6 games ahead of Baltimore for the American League East title. As we've talked about, made 3 big trades heading into the trade deadline. So hopefully that will certainly, at the very least, enable us to hold on and win the American League East. And then once we do that, the goal is to go on a long playoff run and hopefully get a repeat. We won the Yankees' first title since 2009 last season. Now our goal is to get the Yankees' first repeat since the year 2000 here in 2027. And the addition of Christian Javier will hopefully pay off, as we just lost Eduardo Rodriguez for the rest of the season. Ruptured tendon in his finger, out for 4 months. So his season is over. 6-6 record, 3.62 ERA. And it's going to be interesting. We've got a team option for him next season at $13 million. He's 34 years old, still normal injury proneness, but certainly has been a valuable pitcher since we signed him to the Yankees. You can see he led the league in losses with the Mets the year before he joined us, and in his early 30s with us has gone 16-8, 16-7, 12-5, and now 6-6 as we head into his option year with us. So he's been a very good pitcher, but we'll have a decision to make on him this offseason, and unfortunately he won't be participating in any postseason run that the Bronx Bombers are able to go on over the next few months. And I know that some of our viewers are giggling right now is Christian Javier, who we just made the big trade for, just suffered a sprained ankle, going to be out for 2 weeks, so we are going to be moving him to the injured list also. So at this point, we have Javier, Minaya, Rodriguez, and Urias as starting pitchers on our team who are on the injured list. Should be, getting Javier back before the end of the month, and then still have a chance for Minaya in mid to late September. Whether Urias will be available for the playoffs remains up in question, and Rodriguez is clearly out for the remainder of the season, no matter how far we go. Well, it's mid-August, and just lost Cody Bellinger to the disabled list for a couple weeks. It'll be his second stint on the IL. May have just called it the DL. This season, you can see not as productive as he has been the last few seasons when he's been runner-up in the AL MVP voting to Wander Franco both seasons, but still having a good year for us here as we're in mid-August with 27 homers, 70 ribbies, and 278 batting average. So solid year by Bellinger that's been interrupted by two relatively, hopefully, short trips to the injured list. As we look at the standings in mid-August, we're starting to get a little bit of breathing room over the Orioles, up 8.5 now. Yankees 75 and 41. Magic number is down to 39. So hopefully, we can clinch over the next month to 5 weeks, and then be able to get the rotation set the way that Scott Leyes wants it before we get into the postseason. Well, we're now in September. You can see the Yanks 85 and 47, out in front by 8 games over the Orioles here in the AL East. And the Orioles are free by 7 games for the second wild card. So 23 is the magic number to win the American League East, but clearly we are much closer than that to at least clinching a playoff spot for the 2027 season here. Did get some good news with roster expansion. We had Christian Javier doing a couple of quick rehab starts down in Scranton Wilkes-Barre. Just brought him back, and then also brought up to the Major League roster the outfielder Chase DeLauder, who's been up and down this season, helping fill in while Bellinger and Judge have been out with injuries at various points this season. And since we were just speaking of Cody Bellinger, maybe we jinxed him, but broken kneecap, out 7 months, done for the year. Looks like hopefully he will be available for the latter part of spring training in the spring. But incredibly disappointing to lose our starting center fielder as we're trying to repeat. Bummer that he's going to be gone for the rest of the season, but it is what it is at this point. We will do our best to piece things together. No one's ever going to feel bad for the Yankees. Don't expect anyone to, but big blow to the Yankees roster to lose our cleanup hitter and starting center fielder, because obviously we're going to take a downturn in terms of the offense that we can generate, and we're also going to not have someone who is nearly as accomplished in center field. Jason Dominguez, who is having a nice offensive season for us again, as you can see, is pretty mediocre in his ability to play center field, even though his characteristics for playing the outfield are decent, and he's got some speed. Doesn't do a great job out there, but he will be our center fielder for the remainder of this season. We don't have any great defensive center fielders down there. DeLauder, who we just brought up, you can see similar kind of defensive profile to Dominguez, and then Judge and Shu are really not center fielders at all. So may try to find in Scranton Wilkes-Barre whoever the best defensive center fielder that we have is, but it's not a great answer. It's definitely Sam Thompson, who doesn't offer much defensively, but we will bring Sam back up to the big roster. He also spent, as you can see, 9 games up here earlier in the season when Bellinger was hurt. Bring him up, and hopefully he can serve as a defensive substitute for us when we need a little defense, and hopefully are trying to protect some leads over the next few weeks. It is starting to get ugly. Carter Benbrook, another starting pitcher, fractured elbow, out for 8 months. You can see he's become a big-time pitcher for us. 4 stars, 4.5-star potential. Really stinks to lose the youngster who you can see has suffered some other injury issues this year. Did a rehab assignment in Scranton coming back from his first injury, but was 2-1 at the major league level with a 4.67 ERA this year. Definitely a bummer to lose him, as we're just trying to hang on and stay healthy and not lose anybody else before the playoffs get started. It's getting a little ridiculous with the starting pitchers. Wouldn't be starting if it weren't for all the injuries, but Luis Funky Cole Medina out with shoulder inflammation for 6 to 7 weeks. So if we make a long playoff run, maybe we'd have him back for the ALCS or World Series. But another one bites the dust. You can see at this late stage of the season, mid-September, Benbrook, Minaya, Medina, Rodriguez, and Urias, all major league starters who are on the injured list at this point. Fortunately, Minaya only 3 days away, so hopefully we can have him back and be able to get him back into good shape, to hopefully contribute during the postseason. Well, the regular season is over. Another great regular season for the Yankees, 102-60 record, fourth consecutive AL East division title, beating the Orioles by 9 games. And then you can see Tampa, Boston, and Toronto, especially after Toronto started dumping players, were way out of it. I think that there's potential that we'll also have an MVP on the team when the voting happens. Shuchi led the American League with 51 home runs, second with 127 runs batted in, led the league in OPS at 1.055 and hitter WAR at 8.1, more than an entire win over Vlad Guerrero Jr. in that category. And then it's possible we may have a Cy Young Award winner too. Lance McCullers led the league in wins with 18 and also struck out 212 batters in 190 innings, putting up a 3.36 ERA. So, and Devin Williams with 48 saves easily led the American League in that category. He's been looking for an extension for us all season long, but the 33-year-old closer is looking for about $13 million a year, which may be a little expensive, but we will worry about who we're going to sign for extensions and how much when we get through the playoffs. Right now, we are getting prepared. You can see that Minnesota, once again, the best record in the American League at 107-55. We will be home against anybody except them with our 102-60 record, which was the second best in the majors. The Twins and the Yankees, the only teams in baseball with over 100 wins this year. Working on our playoff roster before the playoffs get started. The only bummer is that with Cody Bellinger out, we kind of need Sam Thompson's better defense in center field out there to hopefully come in and be a defensive substitution for Jason Dominguez near the end of games. And with Xander Bogaerts back from the injured list, that does mean that unfortunately the young shortstop Anthony Volpe, who suffered some injuries this year and lost his chance to kind of get some regular playing time when we picked up Bichette after Bogaerts got hurt. Not going to be on the playoff roster, at least for the initial series. We'll see if we have some injuries or something. Garcia would probably be the first person that we bring up, but won't be on the playoff roster for our first round series. The playoffs are here, and we are once again, just like last season, going to be facing off against the AL West winning Los Angeles Angels, 99-63. So we were only 3 games better than them this season. You can see we're not quite as good as we were last year. We're 4th in the league in runs scored, 2nd in runs against, so still a very strong team. But they're very similar to us. They are 3rd in runs scored, so a little better than the Yankees. And they're 4th in runs against, so a little worse than us. So it looks like it's going to be a great series here. We'll see who can get through and most likely face the Twins, who are won the most games in baseball. But if you remember from last season, the Twins could say the same thing last year, and they got picked off in the division series against the Orioles. But who we will face in a potential ALCS is not our issue right now. We're going to get going in the series. You can see Game 1, Christian Javier, the trade deadline acquisition for us, going against Zach Eflin from the Angels. And a 3-0 win. Must have been a brilliant game from Javier. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts, and then Taylor, Williams, and Murakami came on to close out the game for us. So a good Game 1 for the Yankees. Always good to get the series off to a good start. McCullers Jr., potential Cy Young Award winner, going up against Mason Albright, who was 11-4 with a 4.05 ERA for the Angels here in New York in Game 2. And a 8-7 win for the Yankees. It looks like Minaya came on in relief in the short series, got the W, and Murakami, a second consecutive save. That's probably not going to make our closer very happy, but do what you got to do in the playoffs. So we'll have an off day, travel out to Los Angeles to hopefully continue our winning ways. It would be nice to get the series over pretty quickly, but we'll see. Hackinson on the mound for us in Game 3, had a 10-5 season, 3 saves, 4.47 ERA, going against Patrick Sandoval, who was 11-6 with a 3.95 ERA for the Angels. And the Yankees won, got the sweep, 3-0 series win against the Angels. Aaron Judge, series MVP. So you can see he had a bit of a down year here for us. Played just 105 games and batted only .221. We've talked about we've got a big decision with his option coming up for this offseason. But right now, he's the Division Series MVP. And as you can see, the Dodgers have already swept and the Phillies have already swept in the NL. Cleveland and Minnesota are tied at a game apiece, so it should give us some time to rest up and hopefully be completely healthy for the ALCS against whoever wins that series. And Cleveland has upset Minnesota, so Minnesota for 2 consecutive seasons, most wins in baseball, and they get taken out by a wild card team in the first round both times. Definitely a bummer for the Twins. Taking a look for us as far as Cleveland, a 96-66 team, so a very strong wild card to win 96 games. Certainly not going to be an easy series for us, but we will have the home field advantage, so hopefully that will help make a difference for us. And we are in Cleveland. Tough matchup. Shane Bieber on the mound for the the Guardians. 12-11 this year with a 3.27 ERA. Javier on the mound for the Yankees. Oh, and the Indians take the first game 4-2. Bieber got the win. Javier got the loss. Nolan Jones had a nice season for the Guardians and hit 2 homers in that first game. So tough situation for the Yankees to go down 1-0, but we've got the potential to bounce back tomorrow. We'll see what happens. Samranth Singh, 12-8 record, 3.53 ERA, 218 strikeouts, so a really good year for him. One of the players that McCullers, who was 18-6 with 212 strikeouts and a 3.36 ERA, is probably going to be competing with for the AL Cy Young Award. You can see McCullers got bombed his first start of the postseason. Hopefully he can do better today. And he definitely did. McCullers got the win. Yankees win 2-1. So the Guardians still have home field advantage on us, but at least we got the split in New York. Hackinson on the mound for us against Kindon Lovell, 4-5 record, but a 2.80 ERA for the Guardians this year. and the Yankees with an 11-6 win. Hader got the win, so it looks like we probably scored some runs there in the late innings. Judge and Vargas both homers for the Yankees as we take home field advantage back, or at least get back on serve with the win in Game 3. Moving on to Game 4, Nola finally on the mound for us, back from his injuries, going against Nick Lodolo, who was 12-9 with a 4.14 ERA. Would be nice for Nola to get a W here and give the Yankees a 3-1 lead. But was not to be. A 9-1 loss. The Indians rough up Nola and the Yankees, unfortunately. So we're on to a pivotal Game 5 in Cleveland. Going to be interesting to see how that goes. Just making sure that there's nothing particularly interesting going on here in my mailbox, and it looks like it's just people telling us about minor league award winners, which is interesting but not imperative when we're in the middle of the playoffs. So Bieber and Javier, the Game 1 matchup back here in Game 5. Cleveland got the best of the Yankees in that game. Hopefully we can bounce back here with our ace on the mound. And we do a 7-6 victory. Murakami gets the W in relief. Jansen, catcher we traded for before the trade deadline, with a big home run. Noah Syndergaard ended up getting the loss in relief for the Guardians. Although I don't feel bad calling them the Guardians because this is a OOTP 22 game, they're even still listed as the Indians in front of me. So if I make mistakes, apologies to those of you who are very excited for them to become the Guardians. So anywho, moving on, finishing today, and then we've got a travel day. Back in New York, Singh against McCullers. We won 2-1 in the first time these two matched up in Game 2 of the series. Hopefully we can get the W here and avoid playing out of Game 7, because as you can see, Philadelphia swept the Dodgers, so they have been resting up and waiting for us or Cleveland. And it still remains to be determined who it will be, because Cleveland beat us 4-2. So we have a Game 7 tomorrow in New York to determine who's going to get a shot at the Phillies in the World Series. Lavelle and Hawkinson on the mound. Game 3, the matchup last time around, we won 11-6. Neither of the starters were involved in the decision. And Cleveland has defeated us 8-6. So the Yankees drop Game 7 at home, losing 2 in a row at home in Game 6 and 7 to lose the ALCS. Our hope to defend our 2026 World Series championship is over. Was a solid season for the Yankees, but as we've talked about, if you don't win the championship, it doesn't really matter what you do. So a little bit of a bummer to not get a chance at the Phillies in the in the World Series, but wish Cleveland the best of luck in the World Series, where they will be playing against Philadelphia. And the Phillies are your 2027 world champions, beating the Guardians/Indians of Cleveland in 6 games to take the title. So 94-68 regular season for the Phillies. They take out a 96-win Cleveland team that took out our 102-win Yankees team. You can see the full playoff tree here. Yankees unable to defend our title, but we will be back next season in doing the best that we can to hopefully get back into the playoffs and then go on a long playoff run. Well, we are at the start of the offseason, and we're going to have a lot of decisions to make. Eduardo Rodriguez with an option year, Josh Taylor with an option year, Josh Hader with an option year, and Aaron Judge with an option year. So a lot of big decisions to make there. Brad Kreider, a little disappointed, but he acknowledges we made a strong push towards the goal of winning the World Series. Doesn't think we really upgraded at catcher. Happy with his performance. Very happy is his overall mood. Goals for next season: win the championship and upgrade at catcher. So we will see that. Budget is $344 million for next year, payroll of $270 million. So after we kind of met that first objective for Kreider in terms of cutting our budget under $200 million, he seems to have kind of given us a blank check. So we are going to have the opportunity to be pretty active in free agency, which will be great. And as I mentioned, we've also got a lot of decisions to make on players on our team where there's team options. Bench coach just retired, so we'll have some hiring to do there. And it looks like in Scranton, Hudson Valley, and a lot of personnel leaving. Although actually that's okay. We had looked at that earlier, and those were people in the organization that we felt it was time to potentially do something different. So before we finish up this episode and start really thinking about the details of the off season, I want to take a quick look at some of the statistics here. As a team, you can see once again first place in the AL East. We outperformed our Pythagorean expectations. Just incredible at home, 61-20 at home. And we're barely a 500 team on the road, but that 61-20 at home hurts even more when you think that we lost the last two games of the season in the ALCS with a 3-2 lead over Cleveland. Definitely a bummer. Got off to a really fast start in April, a little above 500 in May, great June, and then July, August, and September were kind of more the way we played throughout the entire season. Looking at our offense, really good. You kind of see third, fourth, second, fifth, first, just about every category. The only one that we were sixth in was base running, so not surprisingly given our payroll and being the Bronx Bombers, a great offense. And then also some great pitching over the past year too. We can see third, fourth, second, fourth, and in a lot of the pitching categories. Eighth, kind of middle of the pack in defensive efficiency, but second in zone rating. So it was a great team. Great season for the Yankees. Definitely a bummer that we didn't get back to the World Series, but you're not going to get there every year, even though that's our goal. Looking at the offense, as I mentioned, I have very high expectations that Siku Shu is going to be winning a Most Valuable Player award here. The 28-year-old we have for one more year at that incredible 4-year, $8 million contract we signed him for as a free agent, as a international free agent when he came over from Taiwan 3 years ago at this point. Obviously going to be a lot more expensive to sign him and bring him back, but led the league with 121 runs, 51 homers, 655 slugging percentage, OPS 180 WRC plus, leads the league in an 8.1 WAR. It is going to be a shock to me if he doesn't win MVP, and I really don't know what people on other teams did, but Siku Shu with just a fantastic season for us as our left fielder. Second on the team is in WAR was Bellinger. Did not, not that it's possible, but probably didn't live up to the $40 million that we were paying him this year. And you can see his injury proneness is fragile now, coming off of a year when he had 3 separate stints on the injured list. Fortunately, we do, although we have him for 4 more years, it's a team option for us in the final season that we have left, and we did front load the contract a bit, so it's going to be just $30 million a year for the next 3 seasons, which will hopefully give us a little payroll flexibility. You can see the monster years he had for us the last 3 seasons. Obviously a down year this year, just playing 109 games, but still a 148 OPS plus, 148 WRC plus, and 5.3 WAR for him. So he is still a huge part of this team. Just going to be a little trickier trying to keep him healthy going forward. Cabrian Hayes, better year than his first year with us. 14 homers, 76 ribbies, a 271 batting average. His WAR for the season 3.3. He's a good solid player, great defenseman at third base, and great in the clubhouse. Bo Bichette, did great for us after he came over. You can see batted .312 with a .465 slugging percentage, getting into the numbers a little better. His OPS plus with us and WRC plus with us were both 115. Led the league in stolen bases. He's going to be looking for a monster contract, but fortunately, we are going to be able to potentially pay that for him. And you look at what a good hitter he is, and then also just a fantastic defensive shortstop. It's going to be pretty hard for the Yankees to let him go. So glad that we made that trade. Didn't pay off with a championship, but may help us stabilize that shortstop position since Bogarts is also a free agent at this point. Bogarts, probably should be sliding into third base at this point in his career, but with Brian Hayes on our team, it's unlikely that we'll do that with him. Just looking at a few other players, Alexander Vargas, the young second baseman, good solid season, 2.9 WAR for us. Same as Pavin Smith, who finally got to be our regular first baseman. Did have a few injuries during the season, but 282 average with 23 homers and 69 ribbies. Jason Dominguez, the WAR was only 2.2, so a little bit down from his brilliant Rookie of the Year season, but played 158 games for us, 38 homers and 107 runs batted in, both a little higher than his rookie season. OPS plus of 118 and WRC plus of 123, a little lower than his rookie season, however, and his WAR fell to 2.2. I think, honestly, part of that is probably that he played a lot more in the field this year than he did last season. You can see you can kind of see it here. He only played about 30 games in the outfield in 2026. With all the injuries to Bellinger and Judge in particular, he played close to 100 games in the outfield this year, including about 40 in center field and about 40 in right. And he is not as good defensively as either Bellinger or Judge, so that probably affected his WAR also. Sean Murphy, we're going to have to decide. He's probably a backup at this point. We're probably not going to be re-signing Jansen, who's a free agent, but we've got a lot of money and ownership wants us to improve the catcher position. So Murphy may be at this point in his career where he becomes a backup. And then Aaron Judge, this is going to be a real interesting decision for us. Only you can see a 0.4 WAR this season. He had been so healthy for really 6 seasons in a row, 5 of them in this game before this season, when finally his fragile nature cost him a bit, and he played just 105 games, and you can see that his WAR of 0.4 is the worst in his career, except for when he first came up late in 2016 and hit just 179. So he's extremely popular, obviously the longest tenured Yankee at this point, and has been a key member of our franchise. It's going to be a huge decision, though. $30 million team option, but the buyout of $7.5 million is high, but we'll still be saving $22.5 million potentially by letting him go. Just as a preview, we've got $89 million for free agents, close to that amount for extensions. So certainly have the capacity to replace him if we decide to just pay up the $7.5 million and let him go. But that is going to be a tough decision that if we do decide to let Judge go, clearly won't be popular with the fans. And then before we leave, just a quick look at some of the pitching stats. Obviously, as we talked about throughout the season, a lot of injuries. McCullers definitely has a shot at Cy Young Award, 18-6, 3.36 ERA, 212 strikeouts, and ERA plus of 142. His 34 starts and his 18 wins both led the American League. His FIP minus of 87 in his WAR of 2.9. Definitely not a guaranteed winner of the Cy Young Award, but great addition to the team, especially with all of the rest of the starting pitching injuries we had this season. So very glad that we decided to pay up and bring him on board last season. Devin Williams, our closer, 2-3 record, 2.15 ERA, 48 saves. As I talked about, he's looking for a really big contract. Don't want to necessarily be paying in the teens of millions for a closer, despite him being so good, which may mean that Jared Mahoney could become our closer next year. First full year in the majors here, 6-3 record, 2.91 ERA, just nasty stuff, good movement, great control, excellent fastball, very good slider that still has potential to get better. Looking at the numbers, 164 ERA plus for us and a 55 FIP minus. So certainly potential with Jared Mahoney that he could become a closer for us, or also Seizo Murakami. We mentioned we signed him as a international free agent previous offseason, and he picked up some saves for us in the playoffs. Really nice year for him, 2.24 ERA plus, 55 FIP minus, 86 strikeouts in 59 innings. Having him under contract and having Mahoney not even in his arbitration years, probably pretty certain that as much as we've liked Devin Williams over the year and a half that we've had him on the team, not going to be paying him, $13 million to come back. Nola went 7-7 with a 4.23 ERA. Javier with the Yankees was great, a 6-1 record, 2.14 ERA. He's a free agent now. We'll have to make a decision there. Hawkinson, the really good rookie from last year, was not as good this season, but still a very versatile arm that has both started and closed games for us. Manaya, 9-4, 3.57 ERA. The issue with him is just how healthy he's going to be. Very similar story thinking about Urias. Spent some time on the IL this year. You can see pitched in only 11 games, but did have a nice 2.91 ERA in those games that he did play. So last I'll mention Carter Benbrook, the rookie, actually in his second year with the major league team. 4-star pitcher, 4-star potential. Should be a big part of this organization's future and is going to be much more cost effective than a lot of the other pitchers on our roster, since we spend our payroll on free agency. So hopefully he comes back well from that fractured elbow and can be ready to contribute relatively early next season and hopefully remain healthy. So that is a wrap for the New York Yankees 2027 season, which ended in Game 7 of the American League Championship Series. Hope you're enjoying things. If you are, would really appreciate it if you like these videos and subscribe to our channel. Would love to hear your comments down below with ideas. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.